This video is for men, maybe you're one of them, who find themselves stuck in their marriage. And I know that there's a lot of men who have either tried couples counseling, gotten to the end of that process, and it still didn't resolve the challenges in their marriage. And I know that there's many men who are actively doing couples counseling, but the way that that's been going, you also don't have a whole lot of hope that it's going to fix the issues in your marriage. And so you're left holding a really heavy and difficult question, which is what next? Where do you go from here? If couples counseling didn't help, does that mean that you're moving in the direction of separation and divorce? Even thinking that oftentimes brings up a lot of emotions. And yet, I also know that many of you can't imagine continuing to be in your same situation 3 to 6 months from now. You need something to change. And so that's what today's video is about. My name is James Traub. I'm a divorce coach. I work specifically with men and specifically helping men to navigate from the point that it feels like your marriage is on the rocks or on the brink. You might want to keep it, but you're not sure how that is even a possibility. And navigating either in the direction of separation and divorce or finding new opportunities to fix the problems in your marriage so that you can stay together. Now, one of the first things that many men in this situation find helpful is to actually work with a divorce coach, because this is one of those situations where additional thinking about your situation rarely illuminates a new path forward. You're here because you've already tried all of the things that you could think to try. Maybe that was speaking your truth. Maybe that was trying to do the things that she was asking you to do. Maybe that was trying to establish some boundaries. And maybe that was going to do some couples counseling. And yet none of those things have worked to resolve your situation. And so working with a divorce coach brings some new options onto the table. It gives you some additional things that you can try, either to find a new way to improve and repair your relationship, or in doing some additional things and seeing that those aren't working either, it will increase your readiness and increase your confidence about moving in the direction of separation and divorce. Because it's crucially important, if you do go that direction, and especially if children are involved, that you feel like you've done everything that you can reasonably do. Because whether it's 5 years or 10 years from now, whether it's when you're talking to your kids about whether you really gave it your all and whether you really tried to make this marriage work before making this decision to leave, you want to be able to stand up tall with your head held high and say, yes, I did. I really tried really hard to make this work, and it just didn't work out. That's important. And so again, as a divorce coach, part of my option is not necessarily to get you divorced, but it's to help you to understand whether you need to move in the direction of divorce. And then if you do, how to do that as amicably as possible so that the two of you are partnering to not have a shit show and to not blow things up for all of the kids that are involved. Because believe me, it's all too easy to do that if you start working with the wrong team members. Now, there's another thing that many men do when they find themselves stuck in this situation, and that thing is called discernment counseling. I know that many of you are familiar with couples counseling, but very few people have heard about discernment counseling. So I want to take just a couple of minutes to break this down and explain how this fits in your situation. So couples counseling assumes that both individuals want to make the relationship work. This is oftentimes called leaning in. Both of you are leaning into the relationship, wanting to figure out what is it that's not working and how can we move past that. But couples counseling breaks down, both for you as well as for the therapist, when one person is leaning out, meaning that one person is no longer emotionally invested in working on the relationship. And this is where many of you find yourselves. You may not have an appetite to continue doing the work in couples therapy. You might be the person who is leaning out, and the whole model starts to break down and you need something else. And so discernment counseling was created for just this reason. And rather than being a series of sessions talking about the relationship and what's going wrong and how you two can move forward, discernment counseling is a limited process that is simply about clarity. It's never more than 5 sessions. You do it together. You do it with a couples therapist. And discernment counseling is really about 3 things. It is about clarifying what is the problem in this relationship for him and for her, giving both individuals a new opportunity to be as brutally honest as possible about what's not working. The second thing is an opportunity for both individuals to take some responsibility for the problem that the other person's describing. Because when 2 individuals are stuck in this victim and perpetrator role setup, usually it's very difficult to move forward. And it always takes 2. One person oftentimes might be more visible, might be more expressive, might be more critical, might be more emotional, but the other person sometimes has been withholding. They have suppressed things. They have not spoken up and shared what it was that they really wanted or what they were thinking or what they needed. And so this process allows for an exploration for both individuals to see how they have co-created this dynamic that's now troublesome for the relationship. And then the third element of discernment counseling is just making a decision on where you go from here. So within these 5 sessions, you will decide to do one of 3 things. You will either move in the direction of divorce, you will decide to not do anything, so status quo, or now that you have shared what the problem is in the relationship and you've both talked about how you're contributing to it, to take divorce off the table and do 6 more months of couples counseling to see where that gets you. And now discernment counseling, it provides a lot of benefits. There's the benefits that I just shared with you, but there's more to that because in couples counseling, oftentimes one person is still withholding. They're not being 100% honest about where they're at. When you shift gears into discernment counseling, you do so because one person is no longer invested in the relationship. In essence, the D word has been uttered and divorce is now a very real option. And so this is really that Hail Mary pass. This is the last opportunity for people to be honest and the last opportunity for people to take some responsibility and some accountability for their part in the issue. And forcing that matter can be very, very helpful. It can open up a new conversation that maybe you didn't quite get to when you were doing couples counseling. Another benefit of discernment counseling is that it gets rid of this element of surprise. Because believe me, it is tremendously difficult to get divorced from someone who still doesn't understand why this is happening, who still doesn't understand how things got to this point, who still doesn't want to get divorced. All of that emotionality is going to take things sideways. And so discernment counseling is clarifying for both individuals in this way, and that it is no longer a surprise what the problem is in the relationship and how you got to this point. And if someone is unwilling or unable to own their role in the dynamic, then that helps to explain why divorce is even being considered. Now, I could go on and on about the benefits of divorce coaching and the benefits of discernment counseling, and I will address both of those in more detail in a later video. But I wanted to share this with you today just as an example of demonstrating that there are paths forward. There are always paths forward. You just can't always see what they are. So if you find yourself in this situation of feeling stuck and you've never spoken with a divorce coach to understand what they can offer you, and you've never looked into discernment counseling, I encourage you to do both of those things and to see that that might be the next step that takes you in a direction. What's that? No? Okay. I don't want to disrespect your vibe. I don't know if you recorded. I was just right at the end there, but it's all right. No, I'm good. Yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah, that's cool.